TV coverage, I guess. But what I could say here is good afternoon. This is the Highland Park Show. We have a guest today, and I'm just going to surprise you. Unbelievable. The guest has purchased a home in Highland Park, and wow, it's just amazing. It's one of the real nice homes, and it's just really good. Roger, we don't have any video in here, so I'll still keep talking. But anyway, Highland Park is really looking forward. It's looking up. What I see here is the Highland Parkers moving forward, doing what they want to do positively, of course. Woodward Avenue, when we started the project of the rejuvenation June 12th, 2021, I only had one goal in mind, and the goal was if people are coming down Woodward, they're coming from either Pontiac or Ferndale, or somewhere north heading south. And one thing about it, if you really notice at 8 Mile, you can really see downtown from that area there. So like it sits high, and there you go. You can see the tall buildings of GM, and at one point, the Fisher Building. I guess they still call it the Fisher Building. So many things have changed. But anyway, I don't want to preview on that, but a lot of things have changed. When I look at downtown and I see, where Hudson's used to be, where all these places and all the progressive things that are happening, it just makes you want to smile because I remember downtown before all the development, and it was sort of like a ghost town. So I'm happy about that. And basically, also, we have to develop our Highland Park. And there are some wonderful people bringing jobs and all kinds of businesses, and we welcome them all. I think all business is good business and adds to the bottom line so we can have our services maintained the way we are accustomed to. But the key here is having people that can work together, create a synergy, and have a dream where you could just reach out and just feel it. And by reaching out, it's going to happen. But that's positive energy. And sometimes it takes all of that and more to move forward. And what I would like to say is this. My dear mentor and friend, Dr. James Tatum, one thing I can say about that gentleman is his goal was to give children scholarships so that they can have a dream and be able to be professional in whatever field that they chose. And a lot of his students, based on that, and he had concerts in which every concert the student had opportunity of performing at Orchestra Hall and having that on their resume. What a resume do you have. And that, the virtuoso 5-year-old piano player to the wonderful students who's a doctorate and such. All of the students who performed on that stage, if they're not touring, Mr. James Tatum always knew where they were and would call them up and see how they're doing. What a wonderful man. Spend your life just giving to the children so they can have. Now that is a wonderful, wonderful situation. And I don't mean to belabor on it, but he's due praise because anybody who can raise that kind of money and give out over $500,000 in scholarships single-handedly, and is not a big-time corporate person, right, and gave out so many instruments that people donated to the James Tatum Foundation for the Arts, and so many children have benefited from them, and many of them today are wonderful scholars within their own right. And most of them had a start because of Mr. James Tatum. He would tell them, he funded people to go to interlocking music, fine arts situation camps, Blue Lake, and all kinds of things that he felt that students, minority in particular, but any student, should be exposed to. So someone like that is just due for respect. And the jazz mass is second to none. So that's enough about him, but I can't say enough about him because of the relationship, knowing him most of my adult life, really, literally, and college, high school. It's just a lifelong friendship. But anyway, let's move on. And I'm just going to take a moment of silence for him, if everybody doesn't mind. Just a couple of seconds. Thank you. And thanks again. I don't know if we have any callers on, but I would like to introduce this young man. I feel that he is going to be something. I'm not sure. An example. He says he doesn't have much to talk about, but then he says, well, I've taught computers, contractor, homeowner, a former utility person. So he has all the skills that a builder would need. Only thing I would suggest is get your builder's license. You have all the skills. And imagine this. A young man from Highland Park with all those wonderful skills could build something really cool in a home that has to do with electronics and all sorts of wonderful things. The mindset. So what high school did you go to? I'm going to introduce us today to Mr. Dennis Edgar.
Good day to you. Yes, I attended Redford High School.
Redford?
Yes, the Huskies.
The Huskies, okay. So what was your high school noted for? Football, academics, everything?
Roughhousing.
Roughhousing?
Yeah, unfortunately. It was, by the time I got there, we had a rivalry with Cass Tech, Henry Ford, but it was pretty one-sided. So, yeah, it was one of those rivalries. Right. So, unfortunately, it was fun.
Did you know any Highland Parkers or anyone from the area here?
Yes, I actually have relatives that live in Highland Park.
Really?
Yes. Auntie Kathy Johnson, cousin passed away, Bawana Miller.
Really?
Yes.
Wow.
He was very involved with things Highland Park. It's been going a while now.
Okay. Well, I tell you one thing. I'm seeing a lot of progress in Highland Park. I'm trying to. I like to talk about things in the past, so they say. Like for instance, one thing that I was really happy about shortly ago was the cleanup of the Mcgregor Public Library, and even now it looks so much better. It looks so much better, and we're thankful to everyone that participated in that, including council people and all. I was there handing out coffee and donut holes and working and just having a great time and meeting people. It was just so much fun. I really enjoyed it. But the most wonderful thing that I thought came out of that whole situation was brotherly and sisterly love for one another. And that was the synergy that is all I needed just to, look and see people working in such a positive manner.
Agreed.
And not making haste either. I mean, doing the best that they can within the time frames, constraints that they had, and donating their time and efforts, and it's very appreciative. It just goes to show when a neighborhood or people come together, wonderful things can happen.
Agreed.
Yep.
That's been my experience actually since me and my wife have purchased the home.
Really?
Yes.
Well, tell me more about this.
A lot of neighbors have just chipped in. A good friend of mine, actually, he's a contractor. He's helped me out a lot, especially with the problems that I had with DTE.
Oh.
They would not turn services on, not due to any theft, but due to the so-called telephone pole not being near the property. But yeah, they were forcing me to go on the ground. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. But council helped out. Neighbors helped out. Just so I can work on the house still. And finally it's resolved. So. And
basically you're a homeowner. You pull the permit as a homeowner. I'm sure it's way cheaper. I'm sure.
Oh yeah. Way cheaper.
So.
Way cheaper, yes.
Because contractors, when they discuss with me the amount of money that they spend on just doing that, it's like, oh wow, okay. But the end result is something that's wonderful.
Just got the directions here.
Mm-hmm. That's okay. But it is just a wonderful thing. And I had been looking at that house for years, if I may say. I mean, I saw it in its heyday. I mean, 30 years ago? When we first moved to Highland Park was in 1963.
Oh, wow.
So many of the homes were very, very, kept up somewhat. Right. And nothing wrong with them. They were cool. So many homes. There was no blight. I think when we came, it must have been maybe 40,000 people. Possibly. I would have to check those numbers. I'm not sure. They said Highland Park has had up to 50 or even more during, when they had the car situation and everything and all that. The Model T and other industries came as well. And that's sort of what's happening now. There's a synergy starting in Highland Park. And I think it's going to start with all the industries that are coming. You have your, the cars and the parts and all kinds of food industries. Yeah. And some people are even thinking about bringing back nice boutiques. And, if the developments that we can foster can make I can see us looking modern, like the streets widening and such as when they come from downtown. But the only thing about that would be the traffic. Yeah. And the reason why I say that is people would not, of course, be able to park on the streets. But if you made the sidewalks wider, then the people could park somewhere and enjoy a nice sidewalk like they do in other communities. I don't know how that could work, but I know that does happen.
Right.
But the main thing is that when you have all this, it can work to the good of everyone. The street calming. But the street calming and everything. But anyway, street calming, what do you think about that? Do you think speed bumps are the answer? Because some people say speed bumps are the answer, but I'm not sure. The way I've seen, if they're going really fast, will the car take flight of such if they're going 100 miles an hour and hit a speed bump?
I think it's possible, but someone...
I'm not good at physics, but...
I was just about to say maybe a physics major, but I would imagine they put something like that dangerous.
Something raised, and you're going 100 miles an hour, zoom! I'm thinking...
I think the logic of it is they're hoping that they slow down before they get to the speed bump. But if they don't, then I would imagine it goes over like a railroad track.
But only thing about it, they showed some other calming things like the little circles at the end. That could be good, but what if they go right through and ruin the circle, and then still end up in somebody's yard?
It's a really
I'm
good
trying
point.
to. What is the? I had a suggestion though, because some places they don't have this problem, and the reason being is that they have cameras, and the cameras always point at are geared to looking at license plates, or if there is not a license plate in the proper area, then there is a ticket associated with that plate, and that ticket will be sent in the mail. I know they have that thing. Was it Philadelphia? Some other places that I've been to years ago when I was in the service. So they don't have these things like blight issues or I don't know what they're doing in some of the areas. Just like I'm looking in Ferndale. I'm looking at places all around us, even some parts of Detroit. There's no blight areas.
Right. That's
how
a good
do we
to
do
look.
this? I'm trying to see how do we do this in Highland Park to set the proper legislation so that we too can clear the alleys. Now, I'm not sure about you have to cling to the middle of the alley. Now, I've heard this, but I've always, coming up, they always said we cling to the fence line. Into like whether your plants are hanging over the fence or beyond the line, usually that's where the dirt stops, and then that's where where you meet the road.
Right.
and that's it. Because I know a lot of growth can happen back there. Now, what I did was I had a young man come and go out there and cut all those on the outside of the fence and on the inside of the fence. But my point is, now I can see if someone is watching me, it's cleared. So it would seem that people will want to be able to see beyond, like over into the other neighbor's yard, but down, because in other areas of, metropolitan Detroit, if you will, Oakland County and such, they don't have all these bushes and shrubberies. And where the coyotes, which had scared the daylights out of me, come out the house that should be torn down across the street from me. I thought it was a dog, but that was not a dog.
Wow.
It was not with that nose. You can really tell them. And I'm glad it didn't bother me. I guess it was as scared as I wasn't it, but I'm like, whoo.
Yeah, that's funny. I'm glad you could laugh about that.
But it started. I dropped whatever I had. I dropped it. I saw that thing. I ran up on the porch. Luckily, I still had the door open. I'm like, oh my goodness. But anyway, it just goes to show.
Is that a possible beautification thing that could be granted with the alleys that could assist?
Well, it would be nice if each neighbor just cleaned their porch, and they just would want to see. Back in the day, we had neighbors that would do that, but things are different now. Everybody wanted to see. They didn't want stuff growing in their backs like that. Now, some people, it was like a fence line. They'll have so much growth. But then what happened was, like what happened with my backyard with my mother, they started dumping tires and such, so I had to end up putting a fence back there. But they still were dumping in the other yards that were not fenced.
Yeah, they got me pretty good.
Yeah, and it's hard getting that stuff, and it's expensive. I had to get two those big 40-yard dumpsters to clean up all the rubbish they had dumped back there.
I'm in my third.
Yeah.
Just
it was
on the
horrible.
backyard.
So you have to put a fence up. If you don't, I don't know what to say.
Yeah.
But one thing I can say is there's some people on my street of Rhode Island who are really doing some good work. In fact, I don't know the young lady's name offhand, but on that corner there, the south corner, the southeast corner, that house is just absolutely gorgeous. Mm-hmm. I think for the short amount of time they've been there, they've really improved our neighborhood. And I'm just thankful for others. I can count out many of people who have improved the neighborhood. And I'm so thankful for that, you know. And let me ask you a question. How did you get started with your home? I mean, what did you have to do first? What was the first thing you did?
The first thing we did, wow, that was a long time ago.
Yeah.
I think the first thing we did actually was clear the large overgrown bushes in the front of the home.
But when could you actually get in it? I mean, how long did it take you to
get inside the home?
Yeah.
To get working, actually, roughly about 3 months.
Mm-hmm.
To get organized and get going. But once we got inside it, it had been several fires after we tore down some things. We found that they built on top of the damaged things. So
it was best to just get rid of it anyway.
Yeah, we had to gut it
completely out. Did you gut it down to up to the rafters, or how did you do? Okay.
It had all the burn stuff had to be removed.
Absolutely.
So, but fortunately, half of the house was preserved in excellent condition. So they only burned a portion of it. So, but the house, these houses are almost impenetrable. So, especially that stone house. So at least 2 fires. Structurally sound.
If a wooden house would have been totally
it would have been
engulfed.
Yeah. So totally the fire stayed sectioned in a certain portion and didn't spread. So
wow,
it's amazing. Just an excellent find, but to actually get inside of it, it's I would say I would have to invite you to our when we finally have one. Housewarming. We show pictures of.
Well, have you taken pictures of what you've done so far? Or?
my wife has. I don't really take the pictures because I forget when I'm working and things and whatnot.
Oh, well, that's good. Because the reason why I ask is showing that beginning to end thing. Yes. That is so cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I actually really cool. Took some pictures of a closet that we're redoing because I had time. Oh, my phone is there. Let me take a picture. So, but unless my phone is right next to me, which.
Right. Well, when you're working, it's best to have somebody. It's best for someone to take the pictures.
Yeah.
Now, is your wife as skillful as you are? Or are you?
I would say so.
Really?
Yeah, she is very knowledgeable. Very knowledgeable. She worked with her mom and her grandfather on the properties in and around the city, and she grew up around this area. That's actually one draw that drew me over to the area. She grew up in Victoria Park.
Okay. Yeah.
On that street. So.
Oh,
I forget the neighborhood, but
I know the street. I've heard of it, but I'm not familiar with a lot of neighborhoods in the area. But I've been a lot, Yeah, cool. Did you ever think that when you was in high school that you would be a builder of such, or how did you get your skills?
Actually, in high school, I was interested in drafting. That's one thing that drew me to actually architecture. Construction, you saw that it's a similar path. Blueprint reading, math is involved with blueprint reading. A building, a wall, as simple as a wall, can get really complex if you go over a certain amount of square feet footage.
Oh,
so
yeah, you can imagine.
And cost wise, it's a hand in hand thing. So just to have family, because I had an uncle that was a draftsman that worked for the county. And my grandfather actually built a couple of houses. Built one in on the edge of Southfield in Tel 12 area.
Really?
Yeah.
What was it, a colonial or was it a
ranch style house?
Ranch style. Yeah. How many bedrooms?
It was 3 bedrooms, if I'm not mistaken, but it had 2 kitchens.
Did it have a family room or?
Yeah, huge family room.
So that sounds like something that'll be at least 1,800 square footage or more.
If I'm not mistaken, it was.
Probably like
about 2,600 square feet.
Okay, yeah.
It was a sizable ranch.
With a basement?
Yeah, finished basement, kitchen in the basement.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, my mother, when we first moved, she was cooking in the basement too. She had a whole stove down and up. She was like, great. Because when you have a big family, right. Sometimes you can't get all the pots to fit on one stove.
I guess that's what he was thinking.
Yeah. Because, the average Southern family back in the day was, the average family was at least 8. We had 6, so we were a small family. 8 to 11, maybe, children.
Yeah, my grandparents had 5.
Yeah. That was just average. Nobody really, it didn't make a difference.
But my grandmother, they had 11 siblings. Really? Yeah.
Now, one thing I can say about Highland Park. Now, I'm so amazed with Mr. Edgar. Just coming to Highland Park as a young man and really sowing his oats, it just makes me think. And then I see so many other youngsters that are here with skills similar to yours, making their homes look good. I think and that's what it's all about. You're passing on. Now, tell me about. You talked about something yesterday that really touched my heart about what did you want to pass down to your children by doing this particular situation.
Yes, we chose to, instead of getting a mortgage, we chose to finance in a different portion. Before we moved in, actually, we lived in an apartment, and we mapped out how much it would cost versus getting a mortgage. And 15 to 30 year mortgage, it's still pretty expensive. So instead of possibly passing on generational debt, we wanted to pass on generational wealth, where he only has to worry about a certain portion in relation to housing, which, in my opinion, if you want to go to school, if you're staying closer, you have an option to stay at home, or you can stay in college, but once you get out of school, you don't have to worry about housing.
Just pay the bills.
Yeah, just pay your bills, your utilities, your taxes.
Right.
So,
And that's good to train that.
Energy efficient, you don't have to really worry about the utilities as much. So it's a lot of ways we can cut our expenses, our everyday expenses.
Really? Tell us one way that is good. So if anyone is listening, maybe they might be helped. They're interested in cutting, like myself, for instance.
The best way, in my opinion, to lessen your overall utility bills is to look at the appliances you use daily, and if it's not that much of an inconvenience, if it's not difficult to access, unplug it, because it's always going to stay. If it's plugged in, it's always going to draw some sort of power. I actually tested this on my home before I implemented it. And I was like, all right, I'm going to look at the date on the bill and see what type of influence it has. And there are other factors that come into play if you're using air conditioning. I did mine in the springtime, so
if you're using air conditioning, just take the plug out when you're gone or something.
Air conditioning, if you have a window unit, yes. If you're not using the air while you're gone, you can just unplug it. One of the harder things is your entertainment, like your DVRs, your computers. Some things have to reset. So if you're not a person that likes to do that, that's what I would call the inconvenience. If it's going to inconvenience you to do that, then you possibly can leave it in, because you don't want to start tearing your hair out because you can't remember the login or something, because some things are automatic too. So it's a couple things we want to think about to make it a little easier.
I can't power down the computer, but everything else you can.
That's right. Because personally, I don't like powering down my computer because it takes a little bit of time to get going. And if I'm working on something, I need to be able to access some information pretty quick. So.
Oh, well, that's
but
a
everything
great tip.
else, cell phone chargers, take them off the wall. Watch the cell phone as you're getting close to your 100%. Take it out the wall. You can save at least 20% on your bill.
Wow, just by doing that.
Every month, and this.
So what I gotta remember is charge your phones up before you go to bed. Yeah. And that. Okay, I see now. Okay.
Little small things help.
Yep. Now, what is a big thing that really helps, you think?
Let's see. The bigger things would be the things that run constantly, like your heating and air conditioning units, your refrigerator, your dryer, things of that nature. If you have a gas dryer, that's right now, per my last check, the gas was a little more efficient than the electric. Okay. Nationwide, I've heard we got to push to more electrified units. So what I'm hearing is you're getting more energy efficiency, but the cost is going up too.
Excellent. So what it has to happen is the dryer that you select has to be real energy efficient. It takes all the water out as much as possible, so that when you do have to use the electric dryer, it'll dry more efficiently. Right.
If you do have to replace an appliance, it is best to get an energy efficient one. It just saves money in the long run. You don't have to get the super top of the line, but just do a little research, see which ones actually perform.
Now, would you say the way things are going, does it matter if you get it at online, or what does it matter? Or should you go in person so you really know what you're getting?
If you want the cosmetics, I would say definitely in person. But if you just look up and see a product that you like and you don't care pretty much how it looks, you can just generally choose a color.
Well, I guess you have to. I guess you wouldn't have to worry about how wide it is to come in the door. So.
Something. Now, if you're getting a Sub-Zero, you definitely have to worry about the width and who's going to carry it, how it's going to come up the stairs. Yeah. Refrigerators definitely. Washers are pretty heavy. Dryers are generally pretty light, and I would say that's a perspective because it's really depending on who's helping carry it. So.
Right. Now, since you've been in Highland, when did you actually come to Highland Park? How many years have you been in our city?
Actually, officially, a Highland Park a resident, 2 years.
2 years?
Yes.
Oh, that's great.
Yes, we purchased the home in 2015, at the end of 2015. You and me, my wife got married, so we said we don't want to stay in the apartment more than 2 years. So it's a little longer because of certain issues we had with utility companies. I could have forced it, but I wanted to be a little hard-headed and
Absolutely.
Be like everybody else that has overhead service.
Mm-hmm. Wow, that's cool.
I'll do the trend setting when it's a little cost effective for us.
Yep. Wow, I tell you, it's been really difficult to get everything done that we want to do as far as for the city. And like yesterday when we had that event with there's a situation, but it's not the only situation in Highland Park, because we have situation where we have business owners who are not in particularly taking care of business. What they're doing is the trash is overrun, or you have several businesses using one container, in which it may need a container per business depending on how much influx they're getting. So and it keeps the parking lot a mess, and that's up there with the Manhattan Chicken and Little Caesars parking lot. Plus, there's something else is opening up in there, and a salon. So that's only one dumpster. Right. But look at all these people.
Right.
And then they have the grease up there. Oh. The various it's like 3 grease traps, and they're just spread throughout instead of being located in one area. So what you have is rodents basically running rampant. As we just have to do some better legislation so that we don't have to have the code enforcer person giving out ticket after ticket. I mean, Sky, I don't know how many tickets that I've called. I mean, I passed by there, but some of the residents are getting really upset, and I put it on Facebook at one point, and they put one on recently, and it's just been one situation after the other where this business owner just doesn't understand. Why do you think that happens?
I think it's a little more profit over. If the bottom line it seems to be profit over the way the area looks, because it doesn't take much to clean up or have somebody clean up.
Yeah, and I'm like, wow.
Or call the dumpster people to schedule
regular pickups.
Regular.
But even then, if you are in that business, I'm sure they're making quite a bit of money on that corner.
Yeah.
I mean, when you look at the chicken business, the average order is how much? What's the average order? If you got a family of 4, that's a $25 or $30 meal, right? So imagine 1,000 of those a week. So they turning over some good cash.
Nice little penny.
But you break it up by the day in a month. But look at all that trash that's piling up. So there's no consideration for the citizens, no consideration for the fact that for all the money that's being made and for all that's happening, you could groom your place a little better. It doesn't have to be little tiny itsy bitsy trash and grease everywhere. You could have it in a better situation. Yeah, you could put it all in one container where you have, like when I was a manager of a restaurant business, Taco Bell's or any business like that, they have a container where the grease and everything is managed within that dumping container, and therefore you don't have a swarm of birds just coming down at will. I mean, is it still bird flu? I don't know, but wow, it's like kind of
flu right now.
I don't. All these pigeons, I'm like, where do they come from? It was just pigeons everywhere, and so we just have to figure out how to get this proper legislation. The city council, we just have to figure this out so that you don't have to keep giving people the same tickets.
Right.
Because if it's all a mess like that and they bring a container, that owner, whoever that is going to pay $2,500, get a $2,500 ticket. But the problem is he's giving out these little tickets. I think the first is $100, $150. The next might be, maybe it's $300. And then some more. Then it's a misdemeanor. Then, I mean, that's in Detroit, they're not having that problem. Other municipalities that look like us, they're not having these kinds of problems. We have to find out what is in their ordinance that's different, an abatement, what have you, that's different than what we have, and possibly adapt some of those things to move further, because Judge Officer said there's nothing wrong with what we have, but it's the way it has to be done. So maybe we need to look into that, put more teeth in it.
A wonderful trash service. So it's no excuse really
Mm-mm.
for the trash to look like that.
Right. You just have to hire, like you said, you have to come more often. But even at that, what happens to these people, owners? You've taken, the Manhattan Chicken guy's money. The other Little Caesars, and those people are giving you 6 months up ahead. Well, that every business should have their own dumpster because they're doing that volume. So even with other businesses, we have to look, wait a minute, if it's a food business, we can't all share the same dumpster because of the pace of the business. So I guess the pace of the business has to be regulated, the poundage of what's coming out and how much or how wide, how many feet. I don't know anything about trash, but anyway, there has to be some type of verbiage that would address those sort of things.
Agreed.
It's just like people are the property line, or I don't think the middle of the alley, and I'm trying to understand if it says the middle of the alley, when you look at it, there shouldn't be any trees in the middle of the alley as far as I know, because we used to drive through the alleys. Right. Now on the side outside of your fence where the line is, possibly there's shrubbery.
Right.
Just like that tree that was over on Massachusetts, hitting over there from Rhode Island. Well, that came from a neighbor's yard.
Right.
So, of course, you have to get the funding and the finances in order to get that. But technically, I mean, when you're looking at it, it is an insurance matter that the homeowner would call their insurance company to address. But I'm so thankful that Willie and the city and everybody decided not to do that and went on and, got it removed. And that's a good thing.
Yeah.
It's a good thing.
Mr. Faison is an amazing guy.
Because if it was in Detroit, that homeowner would have had a big old fat ticket.
Oh, yeah.
And for real, they would have gotten it up, but they would have charged them for the price of it. So I don't know what's going to happen with that, but I don't think they're doing that. But anyway, what other things are you doing in the neighborhood or what things do you think that's possible that you can see futuristically?
Futuristically in the neighborhood, I would imagine some food gardens in our area. We have a lot of land in this small area that I think could be utilized. Once we get further in this, our home project, that's one goal that we have is to get a couple plots and start some gardens. And it doesn't have to be a cost to it because it generally comes out of the ground and get enough of it for yourself. Can't eat all of it.
Right.
See, I'm not.
Well,
I eat a lot, but I can't eat all that stuff. So.
Well, it just depends on whatever the taxes are.
Right.
If the taxes are such that, then you can always build on it too, or have a.
There's a couple ideas we have.
Yeah, I mean, look at Avalon Village.
Right.
She built on all that sort of thing. You probably can get some
beautiful
information with there. It's very nice over there.
Yes.
Very nice.
So beautiful over there.
Yeah, Miss Harris Myra is doing a wonderful job.
It's one of my favorite streets to drive down.
Yeah, and it could be other streets in Highland Park.
Yes.
I think it was a young man that came on the council workshop, Mr. Askew, who has some great ideas. I think Highland Park can be like a Birmingham, and particularly, I like the way Birmingham looks as far as the street look as you're coming down, the quaint businesses. I can see those nice little same things. We can have exactly what we have, but with different fronts and quaintness in the insides, depending on what it is. Or some people are thinking just tear down the existing and move back and develop the whole area. Then thereby you can pull up parking possibly and still have a nightclub or whatever else, but it'll be more inviting as opposed the way it is. You're coming straight down, right? You really can't stop, and who wants to park in the back? I mean, to be honest, as a female myself, and as a man, parking in the back is not exciting. It feels a little intimidating, I would think, unless you have, of course, the proper lighting and the proper police.
Lighting that's an issue.
Lighting. Well, I look at lighting this way. Some people say, well, Southfield never had lighting. and they're right. But to me, they always needed it because coming around some of those curves are awfully dark. But it's never in many communities they don't have it. But the difference is to me is that we are so urban, and so much like similar houses as to our sister cities, that lighting would be very inviting.
Right.
And I understand. What do you think? I was asking a lot of questions about the census on the council, because lighting and different utilities that's needed in the city really is all predicated on that census count. And with us losing, I think it was almost 2,000 or 3,000, whatever the number was, it equated to millions of dollars over 10 years of time. So my thought is, how do you? I'm not a mathematician, but what do you think about that?
That's a lot of money being lost. One thing I thought about is how do we get more residents back? We have a lot of vacant homes still.
Yeah.
Some houses are being demolished that need to be, but could some of them be
Preserved.
saved? You know, it's a lot of beautiful houses that you can't see anywhere else. So is that?
And they're gonna demolish about 100 and what was it, 150, something like that. I think we need to just go look and see and get them off the list. See if we can purchase them.
Yeah.
But make sure that all the parties have party to it. You come home like the other. I don't know what happened. A situation where it was either a lady had purchased a home and then she came home and they were tearing it down.
Yeah, that's unfortunate.
So, wow.
Ooh.
That's
really.
Now that happens.
Yeah.
But who's at fault, and does she get her money back is the question. So, you think you're getting a home, and then you think it's off the demolition situation, and you come home, no house.
I think because we pulled ours off the demolition list. I think we checked a few times though.
Yeah, because I can imagine how disappointed one could be to come home after hard days of work or school. Where's my house?
Oh my God.
that would be a nightmare.
Yeah.
But anyway, it's just really
good
cool.
Place to pitch a tent, but not a good feeling.
Yeah. I don't know if we had any callers. He didn't really say, but the light is on. And what I'm liking about this is that you have come into my city, or I'm always claiming stuff, but you have come into the city and just made such an impression. How do you feel? Do you feel any different?
What I actually feel is the warmth that people have shown me from Highland Park. I have a good friend that my neighbor that actually helped me out with the he actually let me tie into his service when my generator broke down, and it would run every so often, but he let me tie into his service so I can work. That was a huge thing. I mean, because I didn't have to run to get gas for the generator.
Right.
So it's just a lot of small things, small welcoming things, smiles. You walk down the street and people wave at you.
Yeah,
that's
nice?
like, man, oh, you waving? Oh, hey, how's it going? That's the one thing I had to get used to.
Yeah, because a lot of places people don't speak.
Yeah.
So
one thing I had to not start, but I wouldn't speak to everybody. But hey, how's it going? I can initiate the wave and say hi without.
Isn't that wonderful?
People running away from you. So
yeah.
It is a beautiful thing.
Yeah, this is. I'm gonna just mention you're watching the the new Wjzz Detroit Jazz TV. We're on air, Cool TV. It's really cool. I'm looking at the symbol over there.
I do like the logo.
And I really want that on air. I think that is so cool.
Yes.
I think it's wonderful what Mr. Roger is doing here. I think he's doing a just excellent job. And it is the hope that this station just spreads and that the Highland Park show will flourish. I know that this is a very short time, but I'm just flabbergasted to be here, and I'm so thankful that you've just come into our city and just doing miraculous things. That's all I can say. You'd like a one man, what do you call it? The one man show, or the one man who could do it all. Between you and the family and your mom and all you guys have got gifts.
I wouldn't even take all the credit. It's been a lot of Parkers helping out, family members helping out.
That is so good.
Advice from a lot of people. So I can't wait for the housewarming. But
yes. Well, you can invite me. I'll come play some music for you.
Oh, that'll work.
But you have been. I mean, right now you're watching Wjzz Cool TV live streaming on Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, Twitter, and other top social media platforms. Like, follow, share, comment, and subscribe. Thank you for watching Wjzz Cool TV, the coolest station in the world. I just love that. I can recall back different musicians and folks that have come to Highland Park and really made a difference. And I can recall some. We Parkers are something else. We've had the best. Lots of music has come through Highland Park. Lots of personalities, and from Jackie Wilson, who used to live in Highland Park. Many people may not know. Those of you who don't, just look him up. He was one of the most prolific singers of his time, and he lived in Highland Park. I believe some of his family probably still live in Highland Park. But anyway, we've had a lot of noted jazz musicians that have come through. Teddy Harris, Beans Bowles. We're talking about Marcus Belgraves, Max Roach. A lot of people. Teddy used to house them all in his basement. So Highland Park does have a lot of history. But with the music, we got the music from the Cats. Because back in the day, they called them Cats. Now, it's not like meow, but Cats. Or, like my mentor would say, all that jazz. You know.
That's right.
So, but I can remember, what is it? I remember the Beatniks. That a lot of those guys came through Highland Park, and when they would do the poetry, they go like this. They never clap. They just snap their fingers.
Wow.
So those were the real cool people. But that's amazing how time flies. And now we have a lot of little rappers, and which is really good because
what would they play at?
It was a lot of clubs in Highland Park off of Woodward. They had a club called the Pretzel Ball. A club right on Woodward Avenue where you can go get a sandwich and hear some jazz.
That's what's up.
Downtown there, back in the day. Fish and chips and burgers, the usual stuff, a jazz group, or dancing, all kinds of stuff they had in Highland Park. But as you see, as the decline in people, the decline in revenue, this is what we have. However, we can make a comeback. We still are in the most prime area.
Right.
All the wonderful expressways. Right. You can pretty much get anywhere in Highland Park in about 15, 20 minutes.
That's a big draw.
15 minutes, I'll be in, Northwestern Highway, hitting 12 Mile and all that stuff. So it's still a prime area. Right. That's all I got to say about that.
Exactly.
But it's been wonderful. I remember when we first came, it was called the City of Trees. But I see the trees are still growing above ground and underground because, my gosh, there's a lot of plumbing issues.
Yes. Yes, we just had our giant tree cut.
Oh, man, they were huge. Then plus with all the saturation, some of them just, I guess the ground just wasn't enough to hold them with all this rain,
Yeah.
Man.
Yeah. That's one thing we were worried about for this year. The increase in rain, the size of the tree.
Man, and that all it is the strong wind and all that's coming up. It's going to just tear from those roots and just come click right off.
And the tree was had a slight lean towards our house, so put a priority on it.
I know you at least cut the top off or something.
We cut it
down to the nub.
It's a little higher than my height now, so.
Well, you'll get the rest later.
Yeah,
but that's
exactly. It's a sizable tree.
It was so many.
Maybe a foot and a half shorter than this width-wise.
Yeah, that's a big circumference.
Yeah, missed the shade, but you plant another one.
Yeah, it just won't be as large as that one, at least while you're living.
Right.
to have it fall on your home.
That's a funny thing to talk to some parkers.
That is so funny.
They would talk about the trees being smaller. Yeah, this tree used to be a lot smaller.
Yeah, when you were little, for sure. I remember when they planted the trees on my street because there was a big storm, and I guess it took down a bunch of trees. In fact, it took the tree down that was in front of my house too. Wow! But a lot of the trees went. Lucky the trees didn't fall on the houses. Luckily, they all fell in the middle of the streets. Wow! So that was just.
That's amazing.
What is that? In nobody's house. Only thing we got was some of the bricks came loose on the chimney, and the insurance fixed that. But the trees fell in the streets. Nobody's house got hit, and I couldn't get through there. I had to borrow a truck, big truck. That's the only way we can get through. So checking on everybody, making sure they were okay. Oof. But that was a while back there. I remember that.
Man, church attendance increased.
Something happened because that was, and during that time, when that happened, we didn't have an internet, but everybody knew. I mean, we had the internet, but nobody was. I'm not sure if Facebook was out. When did Facebook come out?
Facebook was that?
Is that
98 or 2001?
Yeah, it was before Facebook.
I have to look that up. That's a nice little trivia question.
Yeah, it was before Facebook. This the storm. I have to ask. I know who I can ask. They would know.
I'm not a social media. I know my wife would know.
Right.
I'm not a social.
But I think the storm was before Facebook. Otherwise, we'd be all like we are today, just crazy, which is crazy. Some things, but everybody's mind don't travel in the same spaces, so you have to respect that. And another thing, we're gonna wrap this up. Another thing, if you know anyone that's struggling mentally, because I'm noticing it's a lot of that going on. We have to really share information, and that's what I've been doing on my page, sharing information. I would love to create a time where I can sit maybe once a month and talk to citizens if they wish, and we could talk about things and share. I would enjoy that, and I'm so glad. I think it's important that people talk and share, even if we have to do it on a Zoom platform. As long as we can, share information where you're comfortable. Like, a lot of times I don't know a lot of people, so, when they say my name, DeBlon, I'm like, do I know you? But a lot of people in the street calls me, hey, I'm the flute player, So you just never know. But I'm so glad that I can be here. I'm Councilwoman Jackson, running for District 1, just in case anybody doesn't know. Vote for me November 2nd. And by the way, we are going to have a community choir and band. I was quite shocked. I had gone to the Bishop's Church last Sunday. I had asked him if I could use Bishop Evans, if I could use his church to, bring the community musical organization together. And then he says, oh, yes, and she's going to have he said this is an announcement in church, a community band, but I'm also want a choir. So I says, Bishop, we'll make sure the musicians can sing so we don't have two different organizations. We'll practice singing and playing at the same time, So that was pretty cool.
That is cool.
Yeah. I mean, it's very good that we can have that. And I just want to thank you, Dennis Edgar, for coming. A wonderful young Highland Parker that's really doing his thing. And again, You're watching Wjzz Cool TV live streaming on Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, and Twitter, and other top social media platforms. Like, follow, share, comment, and subscribe. Thank you for watching Wjzz Cool TV, the coolest station in the world. I'm Councilwoman DeBlonde Jackson with the Highland Park Show. And thank you very much.
Thank you.
But I'm not sure if we're done yet, but
Okay.
we did knock and we have 1 minute, so I guess I'm thankful that you came here. I hope you got something out of it.
Oh yeah.
If you have anything that you want me to discuss, I'll do the best I can. And by all means, text me, because sometimes I'm in the middle of working or with a client.
Right.
Is because I do work. Some people don't work, but
I mean,
so
I was trying to explain that to somebody yesterday. It's like, well, maybe basically, if you come at people with honey versus vinegar, you get a little better result.
Yeah.
So I'm like, well, maybe because the way you came at me,
right?
But how about asking a question first or changing the tone first, even if you don't like what's going on? Because it's a lot of stuff that I don't know.
Like, for instance, we all have opinions and we all have differences. But one thing I learned from my mother, who is now deceased, she passed away this year in May 25th. I miss her a lot. She was like my best friend. I could discuss anything with her. But one thing she taught us was that everyone has an opinion, and just be respectful and be encouraged.
Perspectives.
And always listen, because you never know if that person may have something that you need that may save your life or may give you a different opinion or association of something. But what I do know is this, is that Highland Park is on the way up. And it's people like you, Dennis, that give me a look into the future of how wonderful things can be. I mean, you talk about saving and all the things that you could do in order to maintain. And, me being from the Air Force background, I do camp occasionally when I have the opportunity. But I love camping. It's no problem.
Shoot, we went camping on our third anniversary. I think. Was it a third?
Yeah, it's a good experience.
It was wonderful. But
it's so refreshing to see you in here, and you have all these wonderful ideas, and you're willing to share, and that's all it takes. That's why I had mentioned about the elders. Maybe they can see it on Zoom, or if they have a visual so everybody can see the council meeting or whatever. Maybe a prize fight, maybe something entertaining that all of them may want to sit and cook popcorn and
What I noticed with the elders, in my experience of the computers, is they'll get used to a certain thing, but if it cuts off or doesn't work,
it becomes very annoying.
Yeah, it can annoy me sometimes. Why is this thing not working? But